I'm really excited to chat with you about this series, and I know a lot of people. There's a lot of buzz and a lot of positive stuff coming in about it. And I guess I just want to start by asking a little bit about your collaboration with Jason because it's been on multiple things, and he's also a director on it in it. And I feel like that relationship is interesting, and I'd like to learn a little bit more about it.
Yeah, it's been actually a real exciting collaboration over the years, and it's been a real honor to work with him and for him to put his trust in me. We started together years ago on a movie that he was directing, a small indie, and I was his camera operator, and we just sort of hit it off. You know, this business is all about people's individual tastes. And when you're collaborating with people and you have similar tastes and or you sort of can understand each other's perspective, then collaborations are sort of really positive and fruitful. And that sort of was the case from the beginning with Jason. He and I just sort of hit it off and we had a good rapport. We had similar taste. We had a good working relationship, and it evolved into other things. He asked me to come and work with him on Ozark as his operator. And at the time, I was looking for a way to transition from camera operating into directing, which is not a real easy feat. And he was an advocate from the beginning. he he said, "Come work with me on Ozark, and basically, I'll be your champion into directing." And true to his word, second season of Ozark, he gave me my first uh, opportunity to direct in episodic television.
Wow. Um, that's a really cool story about him and about you. What you made mention of the kind of the connection or the basically the similar tastes or the style or the seeing things. What was it, if you could boil it down, that like happened that the two of you were like, we are aligned? Like as a camera op to a director, because there's, for those who don't know, there's layers even between there. There's like a DP so how did you guys get like find that like, oh, we click thing?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I was always a very involved camera operator. I'm sure some cinematographers loved it and others did not. I was on the front line making suggestions. Um, I was very I was very focused on story. I think maybe that was
Huh.
what clicked. As a camera operator, I'm mainly interested in how does the camera's movement or lack of movement support underlying story performance, and less about lighting and I don't really get mired in the technical stuff too much, although it's there. And I think, I mean, maybe that was the reason that we connected. But I was always that way with directors, um, and I think that's probably why I sort of made a connection with the career of directing as something that I wanted to pursue as opposed to cinematography.
Hmm.
And he, I think maybe early on, he and I just identified a mutual respect. I think that's the key, right? I respect your ideas. So tell me your ideas. Let me hear them out. And I often joke that if you were sort of watching the two of us at work, it would sort of look like a married couple in couples therapy because, you know, without having the actual like puppets, we sort of like speak through our ideas in a real clear sort of complete way and allow each other to get their ideas out, and then we challenge them. I
Yeah.
understand what you're looking to do here, but my suggestion would be we should do X, Y, and Z. Oh, I understand why you want to do X, Y, and Z, but are you considering this and that? It's like the two of us really sort of
Sounds like a
negotiate.
very healthy exchange.
It is a very healthy exchange. It is. And I appreciate that he gives me the time to sort of share my ideas.
It's interesting to hear that. There's obviously like in a structure and a set and also like in an industry power that comes into play. Like he's a star, he's a director, he's very established and he helped you kind of come. but he's also open to having you challenge his ideas. Can you talk about that? Because that's not true in every scenario, but it certainly creates better stuff in any industry, right?
100%. It's interesting. This is a conversation he and I have had. He's been a mentor of mine as I moved into directing. So I definitely sort of cherry picked from him and other directors different styles and approaches and attitudes towards this very thing. Um, to some extent, best idea should win.
Mm,
Um, I'm not opposed to an idea that might be coming from the peanut gallery or a production assistant or anybody, if it's truly better than what I had in mind. The problem, I think, is that a lot of ideas aren't better, they're just as good.
mm,
And that's a real, he and I have had this conversation. That's a real sort of defining point of, deciding whether to shift gears. You spend, a lot of people maybe aren't aware, you spend weeks prepping the episode before you even start shooting. You essentially shoot the movie in prep, in your head, in conversations you've had with everybody, and you make a plan. And the more you can make a plan that can be followed, the less you have to sort of be on your back foot on the day trying to figure out how you're going to approach things or how you're going to solve things. And there's always some of that, but you really want to sort of minimize how much that you have to do. So if all day long I'm getting suggestions of ideas and I'm deciding to take those ideas, I am constantly changing the plan on the spot.
mm.
And if those ideas that I'm taking are just as good as what I had planned, I'm probably doing myself and the show a disservice because there were probably dozens of reasons I had originally chose to follow my path. And when you hear this sexy, oh, that's a great idea, you usually don't have the capacity to sort of go through all the different things you had thought through. So, very cautious. Best idea wins, but only if it's truly, truly better. And more importantly, in a collaborative situation, if somebody feels like they can share an idea, whether it's a production assistant or a producer, or whatever, I'll try to make sure that they know that I'm willing to listen, but please only share it once. Because
Yeah,
if
and
I've
it better be
decided,
really good.
yeah, but if I've decided, like if you say, "Oh, what if we did this?" and I go, "Ah, that's a cool idea, but no, I'm not sure." And then 5 minutes later, you go, "But really, we could be doing this." That's what you don't need. Once that decision to pass on an idea is made, it needs to be put to bed. It's unproductive otherwise.
Yeah, I want to switch gears a little bit in the time
Okay.
we have because as interesting as it is to talk about this dynamic, you're directing him as an actor and
Yeah.
Jude Law too, and that's got to be fun and intimidating maybe in some ways. And I'm curious how the chemistry and the process with the two of them from director to actor was like.
Well, it's always intimidating. As working in this industry, it's your first day of work like 5, 6 times a year. That's not never a real comfortable place to be. I get more and more comfortable as I go, but yeah, every time you approach a new project, you're always, I mean, hopefully you're always working with bigger and better talent. And so that means that it's even more imposing of a prospect.
Right.
Um, you never quite know how collaborative they're going to be, how open they're going to be. What's amazing about Jason, and I might get to Jude because Jude's amazing also. But what's amazing about Jason is that he sets his shows up with a very particular approach. And the approach is directors come with their vision. They need to come loaded. They
Mm,
they have to be prepared with an idea. And assuming they are there to execute, right? It's not, he doesn't foster an environment where directors come with ideas and then just hit a wall of opposition. No, come with an idea. We're going to be there to work with you to make it that and better. And Jude was right on board with that. He always came prepared with ideas, as all actors should, and all directors should. Everybody should come with an idea and present and discuss. But even better is when you can be open to pivoting both the director and the actor. And so sometimes Jude would come with something and he'd show me what he was thinking. And I'd say, "Oh, that's interesting. Well, this is what I was thinking." And he would immediately go, "Well, let's try it." and like that, there should be no ego.
Mm.
There should be no, I would never do that. It should be an exploration. Acting is play, and you should be open to explore and try. And then what happens is, again, like sort of best idea wins, but in a real constructive way. And sometimes it's stealing a little bit from here and stealing a little bit from there. But in order to find something that that is real.
Do you have a favorite moment in the show that you were like, that really, we just nailed it and it's beautiful, and like that just the creation of it, the execution of it, like everything came together?
Oh, well, I think generally speaking, uh, a favorite moment, I don't know. I think in each episode, in episode 5, my favorite moments are the ones that sort of um, depict this really great arc between Jason and Jude, where you're sort of seeing the you're sort of seeing the normal routine of those two brothers play out. It's probably played out 1,000 times, but it's all these little and big scenes where we see them argue about how they're going to solve the problem, and then get on board together to solve the problem. And then they then they're nostalgic about their lives together, and then they solve the problem, and you think they're going to win, and then they don't win. And that in episode 5 played out. I mean, it played out so beautifully. The chemistry between them is amazing. The episode is really fun. You really feel like these two brothers have won, and then you're right there with them in the heartache when they haven't, and then the breakup, which is I think the key. I was talking to Jude the other night about at the end of 5 is essentially it is the moment, although this cycle that these brothers are in has been repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. But what's different at the end of 5 is that it goes one step further,
Mm.
and you really feel like maybe it's fractured and it'll never repeat again because their relationship is essentially over. Um, so that was really exciting for me. And then in terms of 6, episode 6 plays in sort of like a nonlinear fashion, and as a big fan of you know, movies like Pulp Fiction, which had a huge mark on me and inspired me to become a filmmaker, to to direct a episode of television that does sort of play in this nonlinear space and try to make sure that you're sort of bringing the audience with you, right?
Hmm.
That they're not. I remember after I cut it the first time, and and actually the way it's going to air, it has these little titles that sort of delineate each sort of chapter of the episode. But I had taken an approach originally where I didn't want to tell the audience
Mm.
where they were. I wanted them to piece it together with context clues that I was sort of baking in. But I was worried that it wasn't going to work. So I remember I showed the episode to my wife, Erica, without any context. She hadn't seen the first 5 episodes. She knew nothing about the story. And I just said, "Tell me if you can follow this." And she did. And that was like that for me was a big sort of high. I was like, "Wow, that really worked." But yeah, so those were probably the two sort of aspects of those episodes that really.
So if it worked without the titles for her, why did you put them in?
Well, television's a collaboration of minds.
Okay.
And also, I suppose some people don't really sit and watch television anymore, like, and pay attention. And I think there were people involved in the discussion that were concerned that if somebody looked away or looked at their phone or
Mm.
something like that, um, they might get lost, or, they might need a way back in, or footing. But um, that's just the nature of it. It's a
It's a
discussion.
fascinating concept, though, because I don't think people think about this enough as audience. Like when we think about the way the medium's evolved, it has evolved. The world's evolved, like it or not. And we told visual stories differently 50 years ago. So if you
Yeah.
watch a movie from 50 years ago, you have to remember they built it for somebody who was sitting there and wasn't looking anywhere else. How does it change And how do you have to change as a director? You talked about things like camera movement, or stories revealed in all these ways. And I'm really fascinated to hear you talk about how you you think about the audience today. They're different, and how you keep them engaged visually, you know?
That's a good question. Um, I honestly I don't think about it too much. Because what I found is, especially as a camera operator, these directors would come in television's a revolving door of directors, and sometimes you're battling communication and whatever the case might be. But I just remember as an operator, a director would say, "This is what I want the camera to do, X, Y, and Z," and I would really, really, really try to please the director, right, and do X, Y, and Z. And sometimes it would not work, just for whatever reason. And after 5 or 6 takes, I might go up to the director and go, "Boy, I don't know why this isn't working. I think I know what you're looking for. Can I try my version of it?" And they'd go, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." And I would do my version of it, and that would work. And I go up to them, and they go, "That's exactly what I wanted." I go, "But that's not what you were asking for, right?" And so what I learned was the sort of act of trying to please somebody else in art is like futile. Um,
Wow. It's a
you
powerful
know,
lesson.
yeah, I think as a director, I sit there and I watch, the director is essentially the surrogate audience member to some extent. It has obviously more influence on the end product, but as I'm sitting there at a monitor watching, I'm making decisions like I'm bored, uh, right? Uh, or I might feel myself leaning in and I go, "Oh, well, does that mean we should lean in with the camera? Should we be growing closer to them? Or maybe it's good that on my sofa, I'm going to go from a reclined position to a sitting forward position. Like maybe that is good." So I'm constantly making those choices, but about me as the viewer. And I don't worry too much um, about the audience and
No,
whether,
it's true. It's
yeah,
true. You
yeah.
can't, right? You can only be yourself. But you can think like, would I be looking at my phone right now? Like you can, right?
I well, look, I'm a member of society, right?
Right.
So there I might actually have that inclination while I'm on
Right.
set. I'm watching something and I might have, oh, what, do I need to check it for a text or I don't whatever. And that might be an indicator like, oh, something's not right here. Something isn't engaging. I mean, I don't want to make a music video. I don't want to cut something just to sort of like there's definitely television out there that has a certain cutting pattern, and its purpose is that they know that you're going to be in your kitchen cooking something, and so the flashiness of cuts will catch your eye and bring you back in, and then hopefully you'll be there for the moment they cut to commercial. Like that is an approach. I mean, for me, I'm buying into the idea that on premium television, we at least have somebody sitting on a couch.
Or they made, yeah, they made there's a contract in
Yeah,
theory
yeah,
that's like
yeah,
I'm watching this Black Rabbit because it's supposed to be like an engagement that I'm making with it, you
yeah.
know? Yeah.
It's not playing in a doctor's office, right? I go to this one doctor's office, and there's always like some sort of like broadcast television, and it's like, I mean, it's like I feel like I could have a stroke. But But yeah, so I know that that's not what the audience isn't watching it in the doctor's office, or they've decided to watch Black Rabbit. So that I can buy into that.
And it's cinematic and you treat it that way
I
as well.
do. I treat it that
Yeah.
way for sure. And again, I'm appealing to myself, right? Like, what is it? I'm trying to make content that I would want to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just interesting to hear you discuss it. I'm curious if there were things that you didn't are there projects you and Jason work together a lot. I don't know if you're planning to work together again. Outside of Black Rabbit in the future, do you have stuff that you really want to do or that's on the horizon that you're really excited about?
Well, we haven't talked about anything specific. I know Jason um, is I mean, he's split four ways, right? Directing,
Hmm.
both television and wanting to direct more features. He's got Smartless and he's got his television career, and he's an actor, right? Like there's so he's so I was joking with him the other night because I said, I heard you're going to try and do X, Y, and Z. And he goes, yeah, I don't know. And I go, trust me, I know the whole Jason Bateman world. It's like it changes like the wind shifts, it's like, so he's constantly fielding so many opportunities that I'm sure it's hard to sort of keep the car driving straight.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about anything, but I do know that we're going to work together in the future. We love collaborating. He sent me a text the other night when I think I'd finished watching through the Netflix version, the
Yeah.
on Netflix, the actual finished polished cuts of the entire season, and just like one text back from him, something like, "We make good stuff together," So I think that kind of says it all. I think we're thrilled about the collaboration and want to do more of it.
That's awesome. Well, perfect way to end. And I really appreciate your time. Congratulations and enjoy tonight and the run of the show.
Thank you so
We'll
much. I
talk again.
appreciate your time, George.